So yesterday we discussed about SDLC. SDLC is nothing but waterfall model. Waterfall model means sequence phase of execution will be there. And today we'll discuss about Agile. Agile is nothing but incremental and iterative basis. So the today's agenda is this one, the Agile process, what is user story, what is epic, what is task, and I'll discuss about the Scrum methodology. Scrum is very important. Scrum is an Agile process. We'll explain all those things in today's session. Now I'll give you a small example for to understand basic difference between the SDLC and Agile process. Now just take two projects. We have a Windows 10. Previous year we have used Windows 10 version. Unlike this year we are using Windows 11. That means just understand in 12 to 24 months the requirements won't change. So the release will be there in minimum 12 months. Minimum 12 months. In those cases, waterfall model or SDLC process will be helpful because the requirements won't change. After the final product, we'll verify everything is fine. Suppose if you take the same example for another project, take an online shopping or some food app, anything. So if I give requirements for online shopping like January, if they release it on December, there will be many new functionalities will be there. There will be many new items will be there, which will be if I give in Jan, if that will be released in December, if some products will be there in January, that will be released on December, you will be out of market. You will be out of competition. Same with the food app also. So you need to tie up with many restaurants and you have to keep different items. What are the menus were there? You have to keep all those different items. So I can't do it if, I'll develop it in January and, it will be done on December. It won't be feasible. There, the Agile process will be helpful. Okay. Just try to understand if the requirements were not changing for more than a year, go for a waterfall model. If frequently the requirements were changing very dynamically, then Agile process will be helpful. So what is Agile? I told you what is Agile, incremental and iterative basis. That means incremental and iterative basis means increment means every time, like incremental means what it means is same process will follow again and again. Incremental means same process will follow again and again. What it means, same process will follow again and again. Suppose our sprint is there 2 weeks. So within the 2 weeks, we need to know the design, we have to do the coding, we have to test it, and we have to release the application. That means same process. Suppose if the two projects has both incremental and suppose I am taking Windows application, Windows 10 to Win 11, the project is 12 months. And again, some more project, some application development or whatever you can say, online application development, some online app. Even this is also 12 months. Okay. So here the main advantage of using Agile is every 2 weeks, I'll develop one functionality and I'll release it to the customer. So that, customer will have an idea, acha, this function is working. Suppose login function. I develop in 2 weeks login function. So in 2 weeks, all those things will be completed. Design process will be completed. Coding phase will be completed. Testing phase will be completed. So product owner, they'll review the product and again we'll release it to the client. And he'll see. Still, he can't use it. Only login function, he can't use it, right? So that means still he can see some part of the functionality was covered and he'll be quite happy about it. Different functionalities will be covered. I mean, he'll be getting idea. Acha, this functionality is covered. This functionality was covered. Suppose I'll take the functionality 1. I'm planning to complete in sprint 1, which is a login functionality. Okay. So that means after 2 weeks, I'll give login to the, after 2 weeks, I'll give login to the client. Next, F2. Sprint 2. So here I'll give some search functionality. So he must be knowing that what is happening instead of, waiting till the end of the year. He'll be knowing that, acha, in 2 weeks they completed login functionality. Again, in 2 weeks, they completed search functionality. Again, in F3, function 3, in sprint 3, add products to the shopping cart. Whatever the products, I developed this functionality. Add products to the shopping cart. So I developed this functionality. So do you think, he'll release the product till with the 3 functionalities? No, he can't release. But he'll have an idea that, this function was developed, this function was developed, and again, you can add the products. So again, in F4, sprint 4. So we'll complete the purchase capability. There is one more concept is there in Agile. So it will be still, we have F5 will be there, and F6 will be there. F7 will be there. F8 will be there. F9 will be there. F10 will be there. So all these functionalities will be there. There is one more concept is there, MVP, minimum viable product. What does that mean is minimum. Just understand the terminology. No need to, by heart the things. Just understand what it means. Minimum viable product. That means if the client has these 3 functions, the login was developed, the search functionality was developed, we can add products to the shopping cart, and we can make payment also. Purchase capability is also done. That means he'll just verify it. He'll just check from his side. And if he is happy with that, he'll release it to the product. This is minimum viable product. Still, add products to the shopping cart means you don't have much products. There won't be sections will be there like male section, female section. You just take an Amazon. I'm just explaining you. People use Amazon more. You have many sections will be there. Men section will be there. Women section will be there. Kids section will be there. And different age groups. And even in men section, shirt section will be there. Fan section will be there. Watches will be there. Different items, different sections will be there. We are not adding all those things. But still, all these functions were added with a minimum. Suppose you take an example, with minimum 10 shirts, whatever is available, we are able to add the products to the shopping cart. What he'll do, he'll release it to the market because the minimum viable product is done. And client will get the feedback. Client will get feedback about the product. If it is, if it should be like this, then, it can be more user attractive. Those kind of feedback he'll get. So again, what we'll do, we'll add those requirements in other sprints. That is the advantage of Agile process. I hope you understand. So till minimum viable product is ready, client also will wait and he'll be verifying what are all development team and QA team they were doing about my product. So that means if you see here, sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, sprint 4, if my sprint is 2 weeks, so within 2 months, we are releasing the product to the market. But here we have to wait 1 year. And after releasing also, we are not sure, whether client will have any obligations or whether client will really like the product or not. But here it's not the case because every 2 weeks he is verifying, he'll check login functionality is fine. Okay, fine. He's happy with the login functionality. Sprint 2, search functionality. Okay, he's happy with the search functionality. Add products. Of course, he's happy with the add products. And user is able to make the payment. Purchase capability is also there. User is able to make the payment. That means with these features, we can release the product. That is minimum viable product is ready and he'll release and he'll see, how his product is getting marketed, how many people are able to use it. So he'll get many feedback, client will have their own team. Sometimes, our client will himself, he'll check and he'll release the product into the market. If you know this concept, Amazon, initially it's not an online shopping. Amazon, they just created an app for the online delivery of the books, only books. After that, they came up with all the items. So that means initially they created a application, not app. Amazon application, they created just for delivering a books and shoes, only those items. So after that, they studied the market, they captured the market and they saw the scope, there is so much of scope is there from the online marketing. Now every item is available in the Amazon, every item. You want medicines, you want dresses, every item. So that means they were adding all those functionalities later. So, but they released the minimum viable product is they released just with the online shopping of books. That not with all locations, only for specific locations. So they got success. Then after that, all the requirements were added. They collected all the requirements and in different sprints, they added all those functionalities. I hope you understand why we have to go for Agile. Okay. Any doubts here in Agile process? Just try to understand why we are going for Agile process. I just want you to understand the concept. No need to buy hard anything. Why Agile? Why SDLs? Okay. So
Yeah, okay.
Sorry. Hello.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So we said that iterative and incremental. So what is incremental? Same process will follow again. That means in every sprint. Sprint, suppose, imagine, sprint will be there for 1 week to 4 weeks. It depends upon their company's requirement. It depends upon their comfort. They'll take one sprint in 1 week. Some companies, they take one sprint in 4 weeks. I mean, within 1 month, one sprint will be there. But generally, many companies will follow 2 weeks, one sprint will be there. So every sprint, we were studying the design documents, developers were developing the code, and testers were testing the process. So same process will follow again and again. That is nothing but incremental. We have incremental and iterative. I'm sorry. Iterative means same process will follow again and again. Iterative means same process will follow again and again. Then what is incremental? Number of features are getting added. So every sprint, more number of functionalities were getting added. That is nothing but incremental. Number of functionalities getting added. Generally, in interviews, they'll ask why we have to go for Agile. Just remember these things, some things you need to buy hard. Agile means just remember incremental and iterative. And what is iterative? What is incremental? Iterative means same process. We are following same process again and again. Incremental means the name itself indicates that number of functionality will be getting added. That is nothing but Agile process. Okay. So what are the advantages of Agile process? We'll deliver the piece of software. Okay. Mostly advantages. Every time we'll deliver the piece of software to the client. Piece of software with few functionalities. So this is the advantage of Agile process. Okay. So if I say here, Agile process. Highest priority is to satisfy the customer. See, in every stage, customer will be satisfied. In sprint 1, he will be satisfied. So he will be satisfied. Then, if in IT company, the most important person is I can say, customer or client, because he will be giving the budget. If customer or client, he will be giving budget to the company, then only, company will run and all software engineers will get salaries. So we have to satisfy the customer requirements. Just important. This is very important. It's not only in IT, anywhere, whoever is giving budget, whatever the requirements they are having, we need to satisfy that. So highest priority is to satisfy the customer because he will be satisfied at every sprint. Changes in requirements were allowed because we have 12 months were there. So within 2 months, the client will come up with new requirements because according to the market standards, he thinks that, if this requirement will be added, then the product will have more user-friendly, the product will be more user-friendly, or he'll have more market, or he'll have more business if this specific requirement is added. Suppose like, in kids section, diaper section is added, then he thinks, he'll have more market, he'll have more business. So that means he comes with a new requirement. That is possible in Agile process. Continuous interaction with the business people and Agile team. Whereas you take here Windows 10 to Windows 11, if the requirements were good, then we don't contact the business people or the client people because we know the requirements. Here, every sprint we contact the business people. Every sprint we interact with the client and we'll explain what they have developed and we'll take the feedback from the client or customer. So continuous interaction between business people and agile team. Agile team means our team. Like agile team means it consists of product owner, scrum master, development team, QA team. I'll explain that one also. So every individual builds the project as possible. Everyone will have work. In previously SDLC process, many companies after coding phase, they'll hire the testers. Here it's not the case. Once you get the ticket, in Jira process, everyone has to work. Developers will be coding and testers, they'll be preparing test scenarios and they'll be testing the whatever is ready, they'll be testing and they'll be finding the bugs again, they'll discussing with them. So no one will waste their time. Every individual will be there, builds the project as responsible, self-organizing because ticket will be assigned. And you have to complete the ticket within 2 weeks. So within 2 weeks, if you are not completed, then you won't be recognized. Then they'll treat you, as he's not achieving the targets. So self-organizing. If you have 1 year time, then generally people will be laid back. Here, it's not possible to lay back or, to just waste time or something like that. So every week, every 2 weeks or every week, people will have work and they'll be working. So self-organizing will be more. So agile team do prefer face-to-face conversation. Yeah, this is also there. Face-to-face. When you interact with face-to-face, then you will get more clarity about the requirements, more clarity about the functionality and everything. So the main target is every sprint working software because you have to release that working software has to be released. So that is the primary objective. And people has to work 40 hours because tickets will have story points and you have to complete those story points. So number of hours will be decided. Continuous attention to technical excellence because within 2 weeks only you have time. So you explore many things. The art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. Simplicity. So obviously the team will be more effective because within 2 weeks you have to complete means you will be doing many things. You will be exploring also like how can be completed and all those things. These were some of the agile principles. Okay. So what happens is agile principle, customer don't wait for the long time till software is completed. If 5 to 10 features were developed, you'll release it as, suppose it's sprint 4. Almost like 4 features were developed and we can release it as a version 1. Okay. So all this as you can release it as a version 1. Then again 4 features were developed. You can release it as a version 2. That is the advantage of agile process. Okay. So I'll write some agile principles also so that you'll have some clear these things. The same things, agile principles. You better note it down, just to have more focus, just note down the important points, not everything. Mostly try to understand the concept, but note it down, wherever you feel that you will forget these things. So that before going interview, if you refer these notes, it will be very helpful. So agile principles is customer, no need to wait for long time. That is the first thing. Second thing, we develop, test and release piece of software to customers with few number of features. So we develop, test and release piece of software to customer with few number of features. These are some of the agile principles. We can accept and accommodate requirement changes. We can accept and accommodate requirement changes. So why we have to go for agile principles? Just try to remember all these points. Good communication will be there between all the team members. And then delivery will be very faster in agile process. Okay. Because every 2 weeks we will release. Delivery will be faster in agile process. So these were some of the agile principles. And I'll explain about the advantages. Can anyone tell the advantages we have already discussed? Requirement changes were allowed in any stage. Okay. It's not that, after the end of the cycle or not like that. In any stage, directly communicate with the business people, product owners. So in any stage of development, requirement changes. Whereas, SDLC, it's not, requirement changes were not allowed. That's the major drawback actually. So you will be out of the competition if requirement changes are not allowed. So requirement changes are allowed in any stage of development, or we can accommodate requirement changes in middle of development also. Developer is something, 1 week completed. Suppose take sprint 2 weeks, 1 week completed. If the client, he has come up with some other requirements, then he'll discuss with the developer, I don't want that requirement has to be changed to some other requirement. Then you can accommodate after 1 week himself, 1 week itself, developer will change the requirement and he'll develop accordingly. That is a major advantage of agile process. Okay. So we can accommodate requirement changes in the middle of the development. It is a major advantage, I can say. So release will be very fast, like 2 weeks, 1 week also. Some projects will have. So release will be very fast. 1 week, 2 week, depends upon the sprint action. 1 week, 2 week. And customer, no need to wait for long time. It's already there. In Agile principle also I have mentioned. So no need to have. And obviously it is very easy model to adapt. Can you tell anyone the drawbacks of agile process? What is missing? Any disadvantage? Anyone has any idea? The only drawback is less focus will be given to the documentation because every time it's dynamic, right? So documentation will be given less focus on design and documentation. Since we deliver software very fast. That's the only advantage, less focus on design and software documentation. So this is the only drawback. So these were the agile process. Next, I'll explain about the Scrum. Scrum is very, very important. What is Scrum actually? I'm saying agile. Agile means process. Agile is nothing but a process. Agile is a defined process. Okay. So I'm following this process. So agile is a process. I'm following a process. So Scrum is nothing but a framework. So you have many processes will be there. Every day I'm following agile process means every day you have to attend the stand-up call, and every sprint planning you have the meeting, all these things. All this is called process, and Scrum is nothing but a framework. Scrum is a kind of framework through which we develop and test software, then release. Scrum is nothing but a framework. Just remember, Scrum is we follow the agile process. Scrum is nothing but we follow the agile process. So agile means it's defined process. Then I'll tell about Scrum. What is Scrum? Scrum definition. Scrum definition is it's a framework through which we build software product by following agile principles. It's a framework, we are following agile principles, nothing but Scrum. Okay, just remember this. It's a framework through which we build software product by following agile process or agile principles. By following agile process. So this is Scrum. Okay. So agile is defined as a process. In Scrum, we are following agile process. It's a framework. We are following agile process. Okay. Then in Scrum, we have different user stories and all these things will be there. But before that, I just want you to understand what is Scrum. Scrum team. What is Scrum team? What is Scrum? Scrum, we said that it's a framework. So what is Scrum team? Generally, Scrum team will be having 5 to 9 members will be there. 5 to 9 members will be there. And Scrum team will have one product owner will be there. I'll explain about what the product owner does and what is Scrum Master does, what is development team and QA team. Generally, Scrum team contains one product owner, one Scrum Master, dev team and QA team. You know what dev team and QA team does. So one dev team, so one QA team will be there. So Scrum team typically contains these four kinds of people: product owner, Scrum Master, development team, QA team. So all these people has one common goal, that is delivering quality product at the end of the sprint. All has this common goal, but different, they do different kinds of duties. That's it. So all has one common goal, delivering quality product. Okay. Then I told you about product owner. I'll explain about, product owner, what exactly the need of product owner and what he does. What is the purpose of product owner is, he defines the futures of the product. Generally, product owner himself, he has all the futures. He'll be communicating with the client mostly to understand, what are all the futures team has to develop. So product owner main responsibility is he defines the futures of the product. That's the main responsibility of the product owner. And he prioritizes. Suppose you take here. So initially, team developed login functionality, then search functionality, then add products. So initially, if product owner is not correct, then he says, initially develop this feature, add products to the shopping cart. Then it's not, it won't be a minimum viable product, right? It won't be a most, appropriate one. So the product owner should know that which feature has to be developed first. So he must be knowing the login feature must be developed first. Then only we can go for search functionality. So all this knowledge will be having by product owner. So he prioritizes the features, which has to be done first. He prioritizes features according to the market value. These are all business things. As a QA tester, we don't need to think about all these things, but still you should know what are all the different responsibilities everyone will have. So product owner, he prioritizes features according to the market value. That is the duty, and he adjusts features and priority every iteration as needed. So client will be discussing with the product owner. As per client, he'll adjust. He'll adjust features and priorities every iteration as needed. Generally, what happens is, if client in the middle of something, he'll come and he'll go for the new different requirement. He'll change the requirement. So all these things will be taken care by product owner. Okay. And once product is developed, suppose login functionality is developed, you directly don't go to client. We'll have meeting will be there with product owner and everything. He'll see and he'll accept it. Then it will go to client. Directly, dev team or QA team, they'll explain the product to the client. He'll explain to the product owner and he'll take it to the client. So product owner will be there. So he'll accept or reject work results. There only one filter will be there. Okay. So these were the some of the duties of the product owner. Next, come to the Scrum Master. Nowadays, Scrum Master is playing a major role. Many companies, they are preferring Scrum Master. So the main role is he'll facilitate and driving the agile process. That means he'll conduct the meetings, Scrum meetings and everything. So the main role you can say he'll facilitate and he'll drive. He makes sure that everyone in the team, like dev team, QA team, everyone is following the agile process. So the main purpose of Scrum Master is the main role is facilitating and driving the agile process. He's not a technical person. He don't know anything about coding, testing, but he makes sure that everyone follows the agile process. Okay. So each and every step Scrum Master will take care. I mean, how team is working. He'll have all the information. So each and every step of agile process, Scrum Master will take care. Scrum Master will take care. He's not a technical person. And I've seen many companies, they don't hire separately Scrum Master. People who are working as a developers or testers who has bit of experience, they'll only play as a Scrum Master role. Even I played, for some time Scrum Master role. And externally, some people will come and they'll give you training, and the company do provide for certifications also, Scrum Master certification. So as if, even I have done Scrum Master certification, then I used to take care of the Scrum process. But majority of the companies, they were hiring separately. But there are still some companies where the team himself, some of the senior members, they'll take care of the Scrum process. But you should know what is Scrum Master role is, main role is. And what are developers and testers do? Develop, they work on code. And QA team means testing team. QA means quality assurance. Remember this. What is QA means? Quality assurance. So testing. So all these people will be there in the Scrum team. Okay. I told you Scrum team. So what exactly happens in Scrum team? Scrum team are there, product owner is ready, Scrum Master is ready, dev team, QA team, everyone is ready. So here I want you to understand the Scrum terminology also. People, who have experience, I mean, most of the companies, like 90% of the companies, I can say they were following agile process. So agile process, if you are following, means you should be knowing what are all things happening every day in a Scrum process. Okay. So I'll just explain about the Scrum terminology. This is also important. Scrum terminology is also important. So a user story will be there. Scrum has one user story will be there. It's nothing but a future or a model. Here in Scrum process, we don't discuss about, login feature or login functionality, login module. No, you should not discuss. You have to use Scrum terminology. You can say, one user story got completed. Second user story we were working. You don't use, login module. You don't use, purchasing module. You have to mention it as a user story. One user story. So Scrum is user story is nothing but a feature or a model in a software. That is nothing but Scrum. And we have one more is there, Epic. Epic means collection of user stories. All user stories will be placed in one place, which is nothing but Epic. Okay. Then task will be there, product backlog will be there. I'll give you some more example of user story. A feature or model in a software small unit in the product development. It's called user story. Epic. Epic is nothing but a collection of all user stories, large requirement. That means, okay, large requirement. Then the final product you can say that is called as an epic. Task, an action to be performed on user stories by Scrum team. So you have many user stories will be there and you will perform some action on user stories. That is nothing but a task. These were the some of the terminologies you need to remember. So you need to know about what is user story. If you want, make a note it down. What is user story, what is epic, and what is task. And I'll explain about some more terminologies also. We have product backlog will be there. What is product backlog? So user story, just remember it's a future or model. Epic is nothing but collection of user stories. And I'll explain about what is product backlog. Product backlog means it contains a list of user stories prepared by product owner. So I told you user story, future. And I already told product owner means he defines the futures of the product. So in product backlog, you have all the user stories prepared by product owner. So backlog means it will be on the back. You have not worked. So when you start working, you will move it into to do, in progress, and all those things. I'll explain. Just remember what is product backlog. Product backlog contains list of user stories prepared by product owner. This is also important. Everyone can't prepare this. It's a product owner duty. That is nothing but product backlog. Okay. And what is sprint? Sprint is also called iteration, but yeah, most companies use sprint only. But it's an iterative model. So sprint iteration, just remember, it's a period of time to complete the user stories. Okay. So who will decide? Suppose you take one task, the developer can develop the task in a 2 day, but still, he wants some free time or he has some personal work and he want to be, laid back. He says that, for this functionality to be developed, I need 2 weeks. Then obviously we are wasting, the client budget will be waste, the resources, we are spending more budget on the resources, right? Then what is the solution for this? So in sprint iteration, what's happening is the user stories, it will be decided by product owner will be there, all the team members will be there. Okay. So now all the team members, they can't say it will take 2 time. Of course, product owner also, he must be knowing some knowledge. He can think based upon his experience. Product owner means directly, he won't be become product owner. He must have done, many projects. So he'll have an idea that, this functionality will take this much time. Within 2 days, he can complete. Like if he's very fresher, if he's very new to the team, probably, he can give 1 or 2 more days, like within 4 days, but he can't give 2 weeks. So all these things will be decided in the sprint. So that's the advantage, That's why resources, they can't waste time in agile process. They can't waste time in sprint. So what is sprint iteration? I hope you understand. Because no one, they can't waste time just, by giving false deadlines or something like that, because everyone will be involved. Product owner also will be involved. So sprint or iteration is nothing but period of time. Actually, many people, they try to give, they try to extend their deadlines, by giving more time. But that can be extended. They'll have some buffer time also. Many companies, they follow some process, even though they can complete in 2 days, they'll say it will be 4 days. Still, people say 1 day they keep it as a buffer. If any major issues or any showstoppers will be there, they'll keep it as a 1 day buffer. That is accepted. But it's not accepted, if team can complete in 2 days, you can't say, it can be completed in 2 weeks. So here, the product owner and other team members, they'll explain, why it can be completed in 2 days, why it can't be extended to 2 weeks. So one resources, if he wants more time, he can't do it because he has to work in harmony with all the team members. So he has to complete the task in 2 days. So all these things will happen in sprint. So it's nothing but period of time to complete the user stories decided by the product owner and team. Who will decide this? It will be decided by product owner, because he will have all the information. Decided by product owner and team. It depends. Some teams, I already told you, some sprint will be there for 1 week, some sprint will be there in 2 weeks, maximum 4 weeks, one sprint. Okay. So within the 2 to 4 weeks of time, we'll deliver a piece of software to the customer with some functionality. That's what happens in sprint. Then what is sprint planning? Sprint planning meeting. Sprint planning meeting means, sprint means nothing but sprint planning, you can say. Again, you have sprint meeting will be there. So meeting conducts with team to define what can be delivered in the sprint and duration. It's not like, product owner, he comes and he says that you have to complete this login functionality in 2 weeks. It's not like that. Initially, he'll discuss with the team. What are their concerns? Bandwidth, everything. If any people were on leave, all these things, he'll conduct one sprint meeting. Actually, Scrum Master will conduct sprint meeting. In the product owner will be there. Scrum Master also will be there. In sprint meeting, product owner, he'll discuss with the team, whether we can able to deliver login functionality within 2 weeks or not. You have all the bandwidth. If any people were on leave, then, we can delay that specific functionality to some other, like 1 or 2 days extra, or, next sprint. All these things will be discussed in sprint meeting. So meeting conducts with the team to define what can be delivered. Just remember, sprint meeting means all will be there. So meeting conducted with team to define what can be delivered. So no one can impose, or no one can, directly, they just give you that you have to complete. It's not like that. Initially, they'll conduct the meeting. If any emergency are there, bandwidth is nothing but, number of people are there. Suppose 4 developers were there and 4 testers were there. Generally, testers will be half. 4 developers and 2 testers will be there. Okay. So if 4 developers, only 2 developers were there, and remaining 2 developers, they were on sick leave, or they were on some marriage leave or something like that. Obviously, 2 people can't take the pleasure of, 4 people. Then they'll decide that, we can deliver only this much. That means we can deliver only 50%. We can't deliver 100%. So all these things, discussions will be done by the team within the sprint meeting. Okay. So sprint meeting is nothing but meeting conducted with the team to define what can be delivered. At the same time, you can't, really give the false these things also, because everyone will be involving. Product owner, he must be knowing, how much time he'll take. So depends upon. So product owner is expecting 100%. Since bandwidth is less, then he'll make the target only for 50%. So that's what happens in sprint meeting. Then again, we have sprint backlog. I told you product backlog. Then what is sprint backlog here? So in product backlog, suppose imagine, product owner created some 100 tickets or something like that. Okay. So in sprint, you can't pick all the 100 tickets. So one sprint, you pick only 10 tickets. 10 tickets were picked by the team. 10 tickets were picked. Okay. So all those list of committed stories by developing and QA team is nothing but sprint backlog. So these 10 stories, nothing but sprint backlog. So list of committed stories will be there in sprint backlog. All the stories will be there in product backlog. Whatever the team will commit, that list of committed stories will be there in sprint backlog. Okay. List of committed stories. So that is nothing but sprint backlog. So what happens in the Scrum process every day? We have Scrum call will be there. Generally, people call it as a stand-up. Anyone can call Scrum call or stand-up. What happens in Scrum call or stand-up? So generally, in many companies, if you have UK clients, if the Scrum Master is UK person, generally the Scrum call will start in the afternoon, like 1:30 or something like that. But generally in India team, starting of the day, like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, mostly 11 o'clock, the Scrum call will be there. Our stand-up meeting will be there for 15 minutes. It's an agile process. All these are Scrum terminology. Just remember, these are all the agile process. In agile process, we follow all these things. So what happens in stand-up meeting? It will be meeting conducted by Scrum Master. Every day he'll interact with the team. So meeting conducted by Scrum Master. So every day, he'll discuss about what did you do yesterday? Because, you have one task is there. You have given 2 weeks of time. Yesterday, what did you done? What you have completed? Okay. And what will you do today? What is your task for today? Are there any impediments? Yesterday, you are not able to complete because of this problem or this issue. All the team members will be there. So they discuss. If suppose you think fresher or 2 years experienced people, he got some blocker and he really don't know, how to solve that blocker. So he'll discuss, I'm not able to complete because of this blocker. Then experienced person also will be there, 8 years, 9 years. Then he'll explain, that block can be, resolved like this. We have done like that. So he'll have the solution. Every day if every day is having an issue, every day he'll be having solution, which is not possible in other models. So every day we'll have a stand-up meeting. Generally, the stand-up meeting will be there around just 15 minutes. And we'll discuss about every person has to give their updates. What did you do yesterday? Every person has, but he can't, say wrong things because it will be visible on the Jira tool. Okay. What will you do today? So you will be on your toes. The main advantage of this agile process is everyone will be on their toes. Everyone has to be active. Everyone has to work. Are there any impediments? So what happens in stand-up meeting means everyone will come. Like 7 people are there, everyone will come. I did yesterday, I got this blocker. If he has any blocker, then he'll say, I just completed the specific task. Done. So again, some more person, second person will come, I completed this task. If he has any issue, then he'll discuss. I'm not able to complete because I'm facing this issue. So I'm facing this issue, then other person will tell the solution. Senior person will tell the solution. And he'll coordinate with you and he'll help you to resolve those issues. So are there any impediments? Generally in Scrum call, all these 3 points will be covered. And generally it will be just 15 minutes most of the time. If you have any issue, then the discussion can go longer. But within 10 to 15 minutes, it's not even a 15 minutes. In my experience, the Scrum call used to complete in 5 minutes. Everyone will say, I completed this, done. If any issues are there, then yeah, sometimes the discussion will go. Everyone will be involved in the call. Then at that time, it may go to 20, 25 minutes or something like that. But the general standard is 15 minutes is the stand-up meeting time. Okay. So this is nothing but stand-up meeting. And we have one more meeting will be there, sprint retrospective meeting. Sprint retrospective meeting. So what is sprint retrospective meeting? So we have one sprint meeting. I told you sprint meeting will be there in 2 weeks. Like suppose you joined today, this Monday. Just remember you joined this Monday. So the sprint meeting will be there for next Monday and next Monday. And after sprint meeting, you completed sprint, you have completed your task and everything will be there. After that, we'll have retrospective meeting will be there. So it will be there retrospective. See, sprint meeting will be there as and when required. But retrospective meeting means once sprint is completed, then you will have retrospective meeting will be there. So here, the entire team, like, product, everyone will be there. Generally in stand-up meetings, product owner won't be involved much. So mostly technical team will be involved in stand-up meetings. In sprint meeting and sprint retrospective meeting, product owner will be there. Just try to understand. So technically, product owner doesn't know much about. He will be knowing technically, but he won't be involved much technically. So that's why he won't participate in stand-up meetings. But he'll participate in sprint meetings. What are all the tasks, team has to complete? He'll be there in sprint meeting. In sprint retrospective meeting, also product owner will be there. So what is sprint retrospective meeting? When it will be? Only once after sprint. So what we'll do here? The same thing. Stand up, we are doing every time. This sprint means after every sprint. What went well, what went wrong, what are the improvements needed in upcoming sprint. They'll discuss all these things. So what went well in the sprint? That means more bandwidth people, worked really, worked on very complex functionalities. Then they'll have many points, this is a complex functionality. Then, we reviewed this much documentation. We searched online for this or all these things. All these points, they'll discuss in what went well and what went wrong. What went wrong? Suppose it's a very complex functionality, dev team or, QA team, they must have worked really hard, to complete the deadline. They spend their night time also. They just discuss, because of this complex functionality, we were very restless. So what the product owner will note it down. And next time, if something like, the same kind of complexity will come, he'll assign more time. Like, he'll more functionalities. He won't assign more functionalities to the team. He won't assign more tasks to the team. He'll assign very less tasks to the team because it's a complex thing. So all these things, it will be discussed in the retrospective meeting. So what are the improvements? What are the improvements needed for the next sprint? needed in upcoming sprint. Okay. So sprint retrospective meeting covers these things. Just try to understand the terminology. What is sprint meeting? What is sprint retrospective meeting and everything. And there is one more concept is there, story point. You have a number of tasks will be there. Not, like dev team is there, QA team is there. Suppose 10 functionalities or 10 tickets. So every task will have some story point. That means story point is nothing but rough estimation of user stories. Okay, rough estimation of user stories. Generally, it will be given by dev team and QA team only. One story point. Just for, to make it simple, I'll just say one story point equal to 1 day. And many companies, they follow one story point equal to 1 hour also. It depends. If it is 1 hour, then it is 1 hour, then it will be 6 hours. 1 day means 6 hours. That means 6 story points. But I just want you to make less confusion. So I'm just taking one story point equal to 1 day. Okay. Suppose I got a task, developer. He got one task. And product owner, he says that, how many story points you require. How many story points you require means the meaning is how many days you will complete this task. He'll say, if he's an experienced person, he'll say, I'll complete in 2 days. If he's a fresher or if he's very new to the project, then he'll say, I'll take 4 days. That means 4 story points. So he'll be given 4 days. Fresher or less experienced people, they'll take more time because they have less experience. They need to explore more. So they'll be given more time. So all these story points will be discussed. Story point is nothing but rough estimation of user story. For one user story, how many story points you are taking? If you are taking 4 story points, nothing but 4 days. So it will be like that. It's the same for both development and QA. QA also, they'll just for preparing test scenarios, how many story points you require. Then they'll say, I require, 3 story points. And in 3 days, I'll prepare all the test scenarios. Then again, 2 more days for the test cases preparation. So 2 story points. So once everything is done, then in the next week, test execution. So test execution, again, they'll take 5 story points, 5 days. So all these things will be there. With the help of story points, we can decide. The difference between, more experienced or more technically sound people and less technically sound people will be defined based on the story points he'll pick up for the tasks. So story point is very important. There some more terminology is there. I'll just take 10 more minutes and I'll just find it out. We have one down chart. One concept is there. So one down chart means how much work is remaining in the sprint. Suppose you have 2 weeks, one sprint is there. So 5 days, 5 working days, that means 1 week is completed. So one down chart, it indicates that this much work is completed and this much work is remaining. So that concept is called one down chart. If it is still 1 week also, it's not improved at all, then why it is delayed? What are the reasons? All these things will be there in the one down chart. Mostly it will be maintained by Scrum Master. Okay. It will be there with the Scrum Master. So one down chart contains how much remaining. How much remaining? What are the reasons? If it is delayed, if it's delayed, reasons for the delay. So all these things will be there in the one down chart. So that is also important. Then in sprint review. So we'll conduct demo to the product owner. I told you, we directly, after developing, we directly don't give it to the client. So middle product owner will be there. So one more in sprint review is one more concept is there. What happens in sprint review? So 2 weeks, like, last Friday morning itself, the product is ready. So Friday afternoon, we'll conduct a review meeting. In review meeting, we'll just give demo to the product owner. See, we developed this login functionality. It's working as expected. Product owner, I told you the responsibility of the product owner is he'll accept or reject the work results. If he is happy with the product, he'll accept it and he'll take the product to the client. That's what happens in sprint review. So just remember, sprint review is nothing but demo to the product owner. Okay. And after taking that product to the client is duty of product owner. It's not the duty of developer or tester. Just review, sprint review is nothing but demo to the product owner. That's it. Sprint review is there. And whatever I told you, I'll just explain you with the figures so that you'll understand more. So Agile framework typically looks like this. So inputs from the executive team, stakeholders, all these things, product owner, he'll collect. He'll collect all those things from the clients, customers, and everyone. And in product backlog, he'll create a user stories. So this is the duty of product owner. So once you have tasks in the product backlog, then sprint planning meeting will be there. So team selects the starting at the top as much as it can commit. So for 2 weeks, I'm just giving an example with 2 weeks. So team will select, these many tasks. We can do these many tasks. Depends upon their bandwidth. They'll select number of tasks. Okay. So all those tasks will be there in the sprint backlog. That is nothing but sprint backlog. List of committed tasks will be there in the sprint backlog. So 1 to 4 weeks time will be there. They'll conduct, and every 24 hours we have daily scrum meeting, nothing but stand-up call will be there. Okay. Stand-up call will be there. So after 2 weeks of sprint, we have sprint review where the product owner, he'll accept or reject the product. And after he accept, finished work will be there. So he'll take to the client. We don't involve. Dev team or QA team, they won't involve, in taking the product to the client. That will be taken care by product owner. So once every 2 weeks, every sprint is completed, we have one sprint retrospective will be there where we'll discuss what went well with this sprint, what can be improved, what went wrong with this sprint. So this is nothing but typically the Agile Scrum framework. Product owner, he'll get the requirements, he creates user stories, then the team will take some user stories and they'll commit. It will be there in the sprint backlog, they'll work. And Scrum Master, he'll take care of the burn-down chart. Every 24 hours, we have stand-up meeting will be there, sprint review will be there, where product owner, he'll accept or reject the product. So finished work, then one time sprint retrospective will be there. So this is typically Agile Scrum framework. Okay. So we have different roles. The roles will be product owner, Scrum Master, team. These will be there in the sprint Agile process. What are the artifacts? Product backlog. I told you what is product backlog, which is nothing but user stories created by the product owner. Sprint backlog. Whatever the user stories committed by the team, it will be there. And burn down chart developed by Scrum Master. What are the ceremonies? Ceremonies nothing but what are all the functions? What are all the occasions we are doing in Agile process? Sprint planning. It will be there once. Daily Scrum. Every day we have stand-up call will be there for 15 minutes. Sprint review. Sprint review will be there. Once done. Generally, sprint review will be there Friday afternoons. Or Friday, some companies, they take it as Friday morning also. And they'll demo it to the product owner that we have developed this one. Okay. Sprint planning will be there on Monday. Just remember, sprint planning will be there on Monday morning. So they'll pick up the tasks for the next 2 weeks. So once sprint is done, sprint review. And any in the middle of the day, like, generally Monday afternoons or Tuesday mornings, depends upon their timings, they'll go for a sprint retrospective. It's just, once sprint is done, they'll just discuss about, what went well and what went wrong. All those things will be discussed in sprint retrospective meeting. Then we have Scrum task board. I told you user stories. What are all the user stories will be there? So team will pick up one user story and they'll move it to state. So in to-do state, that means product owner, they'll move these many stories. After discussing with team only, he'll move it to-do status. So once team starts working on it, they'll move the status to in progress. That means they are working on the specific tasks. Then testing team, they'll verify and they'll do it as a done. Once completed, that is moved it to done status. So here we have 2 more terminologies where there. What is definition of ready and what is definition of done? Definition of ready means, so user stories are there, but team has to be clear what he has to do on the task. He must have clear picture of what he has to work on it. It's nothing but definition of ready. User story should be clear. User story is feasible and feasible. I told you, like only 4 development team, like out of 4 developers, only 2 developers were there. They can't pick all the tasks. So they'll discuss about whether it is feasible or not. That is nothing but definition of ready. User story should be within the acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria means you have a product owner will explain about, how the client will accept. The login functionality will be like this. Then only it will be go to the client. Then only, client will accept. That is nothing but acceptance criteria. That product owner describe what is the acceptance criteria. So team has a good idea what will mean to demo to the user story. So dependency of the user story should be clear. Dependency, I told you, right? Dependence is nothing but, you can't, first, initially, you can't add products to the shopping cart. Initially, login has to be developed. That means team should have that idea, what is dependent on this. Initially, what has to be developed. So all these things will say definition of ready. Okay, that means the team has to be ready to pick up the task. That is nothing but definition of ready. Definition of done. What is completed? User story should be developed by developer. He completed it. Testing is also done. Integration testing, all the test cases, all kinds of testing, also will be done. Then only we'll move. Here, I showed you to verify. So once story pickup, user stories were created by the product owner. So he'll keep like out of 100 stories for the specific sprint, he'll move 10 tasks to the to-do status. Product owner will does that. So in 10 tasks, developers will pick up some tasks and he'll move it into in progress. So once it is moved to in progress, he'll be working, he'll be developed, and in verify QA team, he'll come up with all the test cases and test scenarios and he'll verify the product. Once everything is done, then definition of done, then it is done. That is nothing but definition of done. Okay. Testing phase also completed here. We'll give demo to the product owner. Once it is done, we'll give demo to the product owner. That is nothing but even if product owner accepts, that is called definition of done. Okay. So this is how agile process typically looks like. And I'll show you some more examples here, how the use cases will be. I told you user stories are there. This is one example. This is one user story. As a first time, I told you, login application, one user story. So the future is registration. Acceptance criteria. Just take in one e-commerce, any application. So the first user story is registration. So as a first time visitor to the e-commerce website, I want to register my account so that I can log into the application. You directly can't log in with username or password. Initially, registration has to be done. So that is my first user story. So what is the acceptance criteria for this? New user should be able to register account with valid data. With valid data, he is able to register that. So this is user story ID. This is acceptance criteria. This is how user story will look like. Again, we have for login, we have for logout, and we have for products, different user stories. So how is the sprint planning will look like? Sprint planning, registration. This is one user story. I have taken the same title. This is the user story. How many story points, team is taking and how many sprints it is taking. One sprint with 8 story points. This will be covered. That is the meaning of it. Okay. And what are the tasks? Generally, what are the developer tasks? What are the QA tasks with the different user stories? Understanding requirements. Yeah, both has to understand the requirements. Then developers start designing. Here, QA team, they'll start writing test scenarios. They were coding. They were writing test cases. They were doing unit testing. Test case reviews will be there. Test case review means whatever, suppose if people are very experienced, they don't conduct test case review. But people who are freshers, like 2-3 years experienced people, then, 7-8 years experienced people, they'll conduct test case reviews, whether they were prepared test cases according to the standards or not, whether all the functionality, all the scenarios were covered or not. That will be there in test case reviews. So integration testing, they'll do test data. That means if you are checking username and password, you can't check only with one username and password. You have to check with n number of users and n number of passwords. So all those test data preparation will be done by QA task. Code review will prepare the test environment setup. So all this, the bug fixes and everything will be done by developer. Here, test execution. Again, if any bugs are there, retesting bugs, team meetings. If QA is involved in automation, all these things will be done by QA. These are the QA tasks. So this is how the sprint planning looks like. And this is how user stories look like. Okay. So user stories means you will have acceptance criteria will be there because product owner will explain the acceptance criteria. Depends upon the user stories, product owner will create the user stories and he'll define the acceptance criteria. And in sprint planning, we'll pick up those user stories and we'll give story points. Dev team and QA team, they'll give story points and they'll work on it. And working means what? That means you are working on user story means task. You are doing tasks. So what are all involved in tasks? These were involved in tasks. These were the developer tasks and these were the QA tasks. Okay. So this is very brief about the Agile process. And in the coming session, I'll explain you the Agile process, how it looks like in Jira tool. So as far as today is concerned, just try to understand what is Agile, what is Scrum, what happens in Scrum, what are the different kinds of meetings will be there in Scrum, what developer will do, what tester will do. Okay. Any doubts? Any queries in the Agile methodology? Team? Everything is clear? If you have any doubts, then I'll just give 2 minutes. Just any doubts, then just discuss with me, whatever, I covered the concept today.
Ma'am, can you explain the difference between doer and done?
Sorry, difference between?
Doer and done.
Definition of ready and definition of done. Definition of ready and definition of done, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Definition of ready means, see, you are pick. Suppose you think you are a developer or tester. So you want to work on login functionality. So you should know, like in login functionality, what are all will be there. You take this application, this sample application. So if you are a developer or tester, you should know what are all the things are there in the login button. So login means you have login, this thing will be there. This question mark should be there for help, username, password, and you have drop downs should be there. Login, reset, you have forget password, hyperlink should be there, register link will be there. You should be knowing all these things. Then only you say, I'm ready. So without knowing, you just think login means username, password will be there and login button will be there. How about all these things? If you know all these things, then only you can say you are ready. That is nothing but definition of ready. That means user story should be clear. In user story, you will be having all these details and you are ready with all the details. Got it? User story should be clear. If you are not clear, what is, you just think, if user story is not clear, suppose I just say develop login functionality, that's it. Then you develop what you will develop. You just develop username, password, login, that's it. But in user story, I make sure that, I say that there should be a forget password link should be there. There should be a register hyperlink should be there. Login button should be there. Options drop down should be there. Reset button should be there. There is login and question mark should be there for help. And there is closing caption should be there. All these things I'll define in the user story. Okay. So if you have to pick up a task means your user story should be clear. That's what the meaning of definition of ready. And it should be feasible also. You can say, like if he's a fresher, he can take, 1 week to complete the task. If I take the experienced people, then, I can expect him to complete in 2 to 3 days. So that also can be discussed in definition of ready. You'll say after you pick up the user story, in sprint meeting, we have all these discussions. Different stories, we'll open the different user stories and we'll read. Then, product owner or team will ask, is the user story is ready? Definition of ready means you are ready to pick up these tasks or your user story is clear. If you have any doubt, something like why it has to be like that, product owner or the senior team member, he'll explain you, he'll help you. It has to be like that. You have to work this language for this. For login button, you have to use this functionality. All those things will be there in the sprint meeting. That is nothing but definition of ready. Okay. Once everything is done, testing is done, then definition of done. That user story is completed. Testing team, development team, they'll sign off. And they'll give green flag, it is completed. Even testers also, they say all the bugs also, we tested all the bugs. Generally, whatever the testers, they'll find the bugs. They'll again assign it to the developers. Developers fix those bugs and again they'll give application to the testers. Testers also satisfied. Then they'll give sign off like green flag. We are done. Testing is also done. So once testing is done, then what happens in sprint review, we'll give demo to the product owner. Then he'll say, okay, fine. It's working as expected. It's meeting the acceptance criteria. Definition of done. That's it. Understood? Whether you are ready or not.
Yes.
Name itself indicates you are ready. Because when you are ready, if you are very clear of the user story, what I have to do, if you are clear only, then you will be ready. So in definition of ready, all these things will come. User story should be clear. It should be feasible. It should be acceptance criteria. It has to meet acceptance criteria, all these things. Okay. Generally, product owner, he'll explain the user stories also. Some product owner, tickets will be there, Jira tickets, and some product owner, he'll explain the user story. We are expecting this, the color should be like this. The color should be red, the color should be blue. Some product owner, they'll explain. Some product owner, they just give the images. It depends. Okay. The main motto of definition of ready is the team has to be clear that what is that user story, what we have to do about it, user story. There is nothing but definition of that. Okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Thank you. And tomorrow we'll discuss about what are all the responsibilities of QA engineer. We discussed about SDLC process and we discussed about Agile methodology. So tomorrow we'll discuss about what are the key responsibilities of QA engineer, what QA engineer has to do from beginning. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day.